Why, hello there, fellow engineers. Rodamont here. Thank you for tuning in to Stationeers. Episode 13, setting up the logic for a shutoff switch. So the coolant is hot. Check. The logic is... Oh, I see the problem. Okay, let's open it back up and come inside and then look at the logic as the coolant cools. That should help. So I'm going to flip this valve, and I'd like a digital valve in the future so I can flip that valve from the inside too. But that's something to add later on. All right, so the coolant right now is at 60 degrees Celsius. If we come over here, we are reading, or it's 330 Kelvin. And this is flipping to 0. Which is, everything is correct. So, the reader is... If the reader is less than the min temp, off, if else on. So once this reader hits 283, we should see this flip a 1. Oh, well, how about we don't even breathe air right now? I'm in my base, so it's fine. So we're 17 degrees off of target. And if all works, that turbo pump flicks on, and if it doesn't, I'll run over and just turn it on manually. Come on, baby, 5 degrees. Any second now. There. Hit threshold, turned on. I don't know what the first one's deal was, but second time around it was no problem. That's right. Basic logic. So now it's pulling all the coolant into the thermally stable storage so it won't freeze and blow up the pipes. So then the second piece of this is going to be... The second piece of this is going to be the off switch. When pressure hits 0, turn the massively high wattage turbo pump off. The other question I have is, did the link console outside work? I don't know. I'm checking. It did. See? Power off. So, awesome. Alright, so let's set up a off switch for the turbo pump so that we don't spend 800 watts needlessly. Oh, I left the valve open? Right. So we're going to have to flip the valve as well because we're infinitely pumping against the valve. Correct. So that needs to be a digital valve. Thank you for mentioning that, GMT. That's going to need to be a digital valve. Once it hits the target temperature, the valve also has to close. All right. So our coolant will... let's help the coolant's temperature out briefly, because it's... I don't want it so cold that it freezes in the pipes. So if I turn the combustor on briefly, it should raise that temp up a bit. It's actually one advantage of having a combustor here is I can just like make our coolant line warmer. So now the coolant isn't like threatening to freeze. And once this hits 0 pressure, I can just turn off the turbo pump from here. Alright, so coolant at 1 degree Celsius is fine. Let's make it a little bit warmer. I want it above the threshold. Done. 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 Coolant's at 26 Celsius. The pressure up top is empty. The pump is off. All right. So we're obviously going to need to digitize that valve right there so that when the temperature threshold triggers, that thing closes. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, obviously that is required. So old valve. Oops. Yeah, I obviously just exposed our coolant to cold again, so turbo pump's back on. One misclick. It should have been a wrench. Shouldn't have been a screwdriver. That was the mistake. Not a big one, but a significant one. So once that hits 0, we're fine. It's funny. All right, 10 Pascal. 2. Fraction. Empty. Cool. Digital valve there. Let's go make a digital valve, and then the cabling required for it as well. It's a project, but like, water's kind of important, I've been told. And not having it's kind of deadly, I've been told, so like, it's worth it. Speaking of deadly, my CO2 filter's down to its last 40%, so like, it might be worth fixing that. I came over here for a different reason. What was I trying to do? I don't remember, so I'm going to go inside. Potato! Alright, I am going to microwave these, because I don't want to starve. Baked potato. My first baked potato. So I've got a 45% baked potato and a 40% cereal bar. I think I can afford to replant this. It's a bit of a gamble, but I'm a gambling man, so replant I shall. Before I do anything else, I would like... Water's fine. Water's fine. Water's fine. Yep. Temp's fine. Pressure's fine. Nothing's gonna die on right now. Cool. All right. Digital valve. So we want a digital gas valve, not liquid valve, because this is a gas coolant system. And I need what? Invar, steel, and copper. This is a bigger project than you thought it would be, but, you know, everything is. So there's our digital valve that we'll place there so that we can flip that shut. And then once the digital valve's installed, with data ports and the like, I'll be able to write to it with the same logic system as I have for the turbo pump, because we now know it works. It functioned, we saw it function. There's not a lot of robustness to it. You know, it like flags once and it's dumb, but like flagging once and dumb is fine. A dumb system that like at least does something is better than nothing. I'm also going to need to drain the tanks a bit. I'm probably going to need to process water just to stay alive, because we're down to... I could draft off of the potato water, but I don't want to. So we're down to 1/3 of a liter of water. So obviously, finishing this and then doing a batch of water is going to be important. So I have almost 3 liters of water. So there's our digital valve. How is my cables? 7? Yeah, it's not going to fly. Plus, I'm going to need the writers too. The logic. So what logic do I need? I can use the same logic for the digital valve as I do for the logic compare. So it can go off of this compare unit. So I don't need extra compare units. I could just reuse the compare unit. And I think I can just do the writer. So I'll import the compare unit and turn it on when one, you know, or whatever. Flip the switch, the valve when one. So it's as simple as that. Which is to say, not very simple, but still. Complex system and all. Alright. So now I have the valve and the cables. So let's just go outside and install them, and then we'll start to do the logic in here for them at that point. Just checking up on my spuds. They're good. This can turn off. My oxygen's fine. My suit battery's fine. My AOE light is fine. Tablet is fine. We're all set. I didn't do the CO2 filter, but I'm 40% is still like a day's worth of filtering. It's not going to kill me. So digital valve, slightly smarter than a manual one. Unless you install it backwards. Smart valve, dumb person. There we go. I think that probably just bled some stuff into the wrong side of the system. Yes, it did. So turbo pump on. Coolant temp is not an issue. It's still plenty warm. And we're pulling the rest. So very useful to have that panel. Okay, so we have a digital valve. So when I want to turn on the system, I'm not going to automate that because that's a lot more logic to detect like gas levels and gas mixing pressures and all that jazz. It's not worth automating that section. What is worth automating is the when it's done, so I don't have to babysit it. That's the really important part. Okay, so my coolant is now 21C. It's fine. The water in here is 54C. I did get a full liter. It's actually still using the coolant loop for this water. That's kind of stuck in the system. There's only a mole of H2O. Or, no, there's like 15 moles in there. There. I turned it on briefly, because I'm not feeding it any more steam. The steam tank is empty. So this is just the last dregs that didn't make it through the system. So we condensed the last third of a liter. Turn it off, and open it up to out gas. And now it's empty. Cool. And now our coolant temperature is stable, because I don't have... It's not... Gases aren't being... Temperature's not being exchanged. There's no thermal exchange. This water is a bit hot, but I'm not going to manage that right now, because that's a rabbit hole that I'm going to not commit to. Okay. Let's go ahead and do the logic for the valve, so that when the turbo pump turns on, the valve turns off. So the valve, when on, allows the free flow of gases through the radiator loop, which cools it down. So the valve and the pump needs to flip at the same time. Otherwise, they don't work. So we need a... we don't even need a reader. We don't need to read anything off this valve. We need to write to it. Oh, I didn't label it. But it's the only digital valve I have so far. So I'll know which one it is. But once I go back outside, I should label it. Logic... IO. It's growing. My babies. Actually, I could just... Yeah, I'll just put it there. Well, it'll look a little weird when the shutters come down. So I'll plop it there. So this logic writer is going to be the coolant gas valve logic writer. And then this one is the coolant pump logic writer. Now that I have, like, you know, I gotta be specific. So this one is the coolant temp logic compare output to the coolant turbo pump, whether it's on or off. Now this bad boy, let's hook up the data and the power. So we're going to be pointing the input to the coolant temp logic compare. And there's a very high likelihood that the valve, like, flips states while I'm coding. So I'm going to keep this off for that reason. So the input is the coolant temp logic compare. So let's go find that. There it is, coolant temp logic compare. And then the output is going to be the digital valve, which is not been named, so it's just the digital valve. And then the... whether it's on or off. So I need to flip-flop them, obviously. Because the valve being on or off is the inverse. What's really weird is the turbo pump was turning off on its own. I didn't... Oh, the valve must be open right now. That's annoying. Because I have no way of fixing that from my side of the world. I figured this was going to happen. I just didn't have a failsafe for when it did. My bad. But at least I'm bringing the labeler outside. I can label it properly. Alright, let's generate more heat for the coolant so it doesn't get too cold. Yeah, I saw the power's low, but it's only 2/5. Is okay for now. Yeah, my coolant got frighteningly low, -100. But we're pulling it out now. And, what's funny is, like, to warm up my coolant, I'm like, the byproduct is water. So it's, like, not a problem to be like, oh, crap, my coolant. Because I get drinking water when I screw up. My mistakes equal hydration, so, you know, I've made worse mistakes. So, the question is, I might need... Ooh. Okay, that can be turned off. My coolant settled at 46 Celsius or something. Oh, you know, it's still, I'm still combusting, so I'm screwing with it. So, stop combusting. So my coolant is settled at 49 Celsius, that's fine. Okay. Trying to think of how to flip states in a way that would be elegant for the logic to not get screwy. So if you have any ideas, I'm all ears about flipping states. So what the problem is, one is reading, like, how to explain? When it when I want the turbo pump on, one of the logic chips should have a not mode. Yes. But that's another compare. I would need to do to add another logic compare into the loop, I think. Maybe that's what I have to do. I mean, I think more than likely that is indeed what I have to do. Oh, shoot. No, I didn't mean to put that much in. Give it back. Okay, I'm 4 out of 5. That's fine. So the issue that I'm running into is the compare throws a 1, but 1 means valve open, not valve closed. So what I need to do is I need to read a 1 when 1 equals 0, when 0 equals 1 to inverse it, which I think is another logic compare. So process, if I am not mistaken, Eisenbart and Rusty. Rusty, thank you for the resub, and Eisenbart for the sub. Welcome. Welcome to me, like, tinkering in a way that I'm nearly dying constantly. So I'm going to retool that entirely. But let's see if the logic compare is the correct unit. Right, it has no usable devices. It can be built as a gate, a logic gate? Okay, that's exactly what I needed to know. Oh, right, yeah, of course, it has a gate unit. Oops. So logic gate can inverse the signal, and that's exactly what I needed. Beautiful. Hydration's low. Copy that. And food is half. I'll eat the cereal bar first. So I have 45% of a baked potato left. That is it. So at this point, if I hadn't been growing potatoes, I would be on the verge of starvation, I think. I think that's fair to say. Because 55% of what's in my stomach, calorie-wise, or what I've already processed, is baked potato. So, that's good. Alright, this, now, its input needs to be the compare unit, so the coolant temp... Oh, I forgot to label the thing. So this is the coolant valve logic gate? Oh, coolant gas valve, I guess. So this is taking the compare unit as 1. So that's the coolant temp logic compare. Yep, coolant temp logic compare. And then, oops. Oh, actually. Might not be what I want. I could do a simple, I might need to wiki this. Or actually, let's see processor. Logic. Processors. I'll just use the in-game wiki. Oh my god. Logic processors. Math is add, subtract, multiply, divide, mod. You know, okay, so that's not going to help us. Powers. Select. Equals, less than, greater, not equals to. So we could do a logic select not equals to. Or I would need another memory if I was going to do a compare. So maybe not that. Let's see if we could do it cheaper. Okay, so these are advanced math functions. That's not going to be helpful. That, not that. Compare. So compare is, again, equals, greater, less, not equals. Min-max is greater or less. And then gate is... okay. Let's see. What other logic units are there that I might draw from? Oh boy, this is giving me too much information. Oh, I think, can you use a switch like that? I have a vague memory from years ago when I played before that I used a switch to flip states. But these are the processors, which I don't think are going to help me in this case. So I might just settle for something easy, which is like a memory unit. And I'm sure there's a more elegant way to do it, but I'm not going to try. Because time is money as well. And a memory unit costs 0 power. So we'll just do memory. And that way I can write a 1 or a 0 to the memory and compare the memory to flip the state for the this compare unit. And I just put the memory in there. So this is going to be the logic, the coolant, valve, gas, valve, logic memory. And by default, this has a state of 0. So, expose that to the network. That already even has the data that I want on it, which is 0. So now I can say, I can invert that signal. So this could be a compare or something, another compare. I'll rotate it. Not that it matters. And if this coolant temp logic compare is equal to 0, do the inverse or whatever, right? So if we take the coolant temp logic compare, that's not my screwdriver. Coolant temp logic compare equals the memory, right? Which is not true, because this is 1, this is 0, then do the inverse. I think this works. So the input here will be this logic compare. Coolant gas valve logic compare. So this writer takes the coolant gas valve logic compare and then outputs to the digital valve of whether it's on or off. So now it's throwing a 0. Because this is essentially saying, I'm storing the value of 0, and this is saying if this is a 1, if 1 equals 0, turn on. So this way, actually it should be 1. It just has to, the system has to cycle first. It has to like reset. Which is annoying, but whatever. It works for me. So let's do another pressure test. Gas mixing up some stuff. Getting out there and seeing if the valve gets thrown properly. Before I do that, it would be helpful for me to have some carbon filters. Because my suit was almost out. They're pretty cheap. There's larger carbon filters if you can't be bothered to, like, regularly check them, but on the time scale we're playing at, it doesn't really matter. These filters are going to be enough for the remainder of the night, so no problem there. Okay, so what we're doing is we are cycling our coolant system so that the coolants are hot, and then finishing the coolant system to see if the pump gets triggered and the valve gets triggered. And if not, we'll troubleshoot. And then we can take a new goal. We can take a new task. Because that will allow me to, like, somewhat set and forget this system, which is going to be really nice. So we're turning on the H2 combustor, which combines hydrogen and oxygen into hot steam and other output gases. So taking a look at it, it's making 2,200 degree waste gas plus water in steam mode. And then we filter the steam on this thing, sticking the steam into this vat at 2,200 degrees. And then we condense it and feed it back as a liquid so that we can drink and the potatoes can live. The digital valve should be on for this part. And what we're hoping is once the system is done, so I will artificially constrain the amount of volume that we have so it finishes filtering. Once the system is done, the pump should turn on and the valve should turn off. And I could go inside and check the logic for it before it cools down enough. So this is the coolant digital valve. And the I don't need to change any of the logic that was pointing to that. It's automatic. If I rename it, because it identifies it as like a unique ID number when it generated. So it's fine. So now taking a look. The compare unit is 0, the 0, and it has the valve open. I'm not sure the valve is going to close. I'm like, it should, but I'm not certain. So our coolant is at 81 and dropping. So let's go out there and we can see it for ourselves. Because we might have flushed the coolant system already. Yeah, we're out of steam. So the last of it is being condensed. Got another liter and a half, just about, out of this test. And the coolant is cooling. And at 10C, we should see things happen. I don't have a lot of faith that it will work, but I have the override controls where I can click this and click that from here. And I would like a console, this same console, but for the valve on the other side, which is something to be added at some point. All right, we're 20 degrees away. What's crazy is some of the other planets and moons like just have water ice, and all of this is unnecessary. But on Mimas, it's necessary because it doesn't have water ice. So it's super necessary for me to filter my own water, which is brutal. I could even move the temperature tolerance to like 20 degrees or 30 degrees so there's more wiggle room so that I'm not getting close to like sub-zeros. And then the last piece of this logic is like turning off the pump, which shouldn't be that hard. It's like, if pressure's 0, turn off. The valve's off! Woo! And the pressure's getting pulled! Oh yeah! Frickin' logic! Ah. Thank God. Oh, there we go. All right. So we know the turbo valve will not turn off on its own because I didn't code it to, but the valve definitely turned off on its own. I did not touch it. It turned off exactly when we wanted it to. So it preserves our coolant. Maybe I'm not that dumb. All right. Yeah, let's go inside. And work on the logic to turn off the turbo pump. Because I think that won't be too difficult to do, and it's really handy to do so that I don't, like, burn crazy amounts of coal having a pump nothing. Makes me happy, though. We got it. All right, so the last part is we want to turn turbo pump off when done. Easiest way to do that is when pressure is 0, turn pump off. We already have the coolant pipe analyzer here, so all I need to do is to have a reader for pressure, and then a compare for pressure, and then a writer for pressure. So 1 math, 2, and we already have the number 0, right? Because it's in this memory, so I can use that 0, because it's just a generic 0. So when pressure equals 0, when pressure equals this memory, we turn it off. So I'm reusing that memory already. So, logic, IO, we need 2 of these. 1 read, 1 write. My potatoes are probably ready to be moved, so give me a sec. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah! 4 potatoes! Woo! I'm a spud cannon. Sorry, I mean, it was necessary when we do that. Let's bake 1 of them and plant 3 of them. I'm glad my character doesn't care if the baked potato is actually hot or not. Baked potatoes decay more quickly than raw ones, so I probably shouldn't have, like, baked it until I was actually ready to eat it. But, you know, it's next. Maybe we get a refrigerator at some point. Or we can make a refrigerator out of, like, nitrogen gas and, like, coolant and whatever. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Alright. Potato. So, the logic reader. Now we need 1 for the writer, and then we need a math for compare. So, that's read and write. Done. And then a math unit. No, that's not math. Processor. I always forget that the math unit's called a processor. I'm glad I had enough gold and copper for this. I didn't have to go rooting around for it. I think that's all I'm going to need. How's my cables look? 10? Yeah, I'm going to need more cables. I like how I made these lights and I've, like, never used them. I know, I'm not generating a lot of power, so I gotta be a conservationist here. I mine coal for power. It ain't exactly efficient. Not yet, at least. Waste tanks are full. Just about. So before we go back out, I'll actually just outgas that, because that's CO2 that's actually pretty useful for the potatoes. Yo, stop rolling. Good enough. There. Fresh waste tank. Thank you for tuning in to Stationeers, which originally streamed live on Twitch as a marathon, one time only. If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments below. I am not, however, looking for feedback. I asked for no backseating for the series, and also, because this streamed one time only, feedback wouldn't be able to be incorporated anyway. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhodamont.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhodamont.com also has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that made it all the way to the credits. So thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Stationeers.